Member Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Carr, Chairman Carr, obviously, Salt Typhoon was a major attack on the United States infrastructure, government espionage by them, specifically exploiting the wiretap system built by law enforcement to track millions of Americans, their location, real-time phone calls, text messages, and according to senior officials, breached largely because the telecom companies didn't implement basic cybersecurity measures, like not putting a patch in place or router vulnerabilities. At the beginning of the year, the FCC issued a ruling to hold the FCC companies accountable, but the FCC rolled that back last month. So are these Chinese hackers still in the American telecom system?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I agree with you that the Salt Typhoon incident should never have been allowed to happen. At the beginning of the year, the Biden administration put forward a declaratory ruling, but no rules themselves were adopted at the time, and the FCC's decision itself didn't go through the agency's normal review process. When I spoke with the career Intel officials then, they were urging me not to move forward with a rulemaking, but instead to work collaboratively and directly with the carriers to make sure they were taking real-time actions to address and remediate. In fact, that's what we've been doing. We've worked directly with the carriers.
Do you think there's still hackers in the system?
Well, recently, over the summer, the FBI's cyber director, I'll refer you to his remarks that are very specific on this, and the cyber director for the FBI said that the hackers behind Salt Typhoon are, quote, largely contained in, quote, dormant in the networks, that they're not actively infiltrating information. So I'd, again, refer you to sort of the FBI, which is the lead spokesperson on this issue. But we've done.
I mean, I know what the FBI and CISA recommended. They said that you should use Signal, that everybody in America should get off of these systems and use other messaging services that had encrypted calling. So I don't think this issue is solved, and I think rolling back the rules that protect Americans, I think in this information age, you need to have robust security measures, and you need to make sure that the telecom industry is implementing them. Otherwise, we will continue to have these kind of hacks on the system. And so I don't agree with the rolling back of these issues. I do want to bring up a second issue, which is on cost. And Ms. Gomez, you articulated this as it related to EchoStar Dish, I think, but I think it's bigger than that. We're seeing this massive amount of consolidation in the marketplace. I think we have a chart back here. Somebody could just hold it up for a second about how, you know, we pay the most in wireless costs. We pay our second in the world. The most or second most in broadband cost writ large. And so the question is, what are we going to do to drive down costs for consumers, and how are these consolidations basically making it more challenging for us to give consumers real choice in the marketplace without cost? And while I love Spectrum and I want good international competition, I'm more impressive with Spectrum that doesn't interfere with DoD. I'm more impressed with Spectrum that basically helps expand into rural areas and drives down costs, and more impressed with a Spectrum policy that basically takes that low end of the market that doesn't have affordable costs and basically does something to help them participate in the market. Why give more spectrum if the telecom companies float and decide not to do the rules on security and then just become basically richer while the American consumer becomes poorer? And again, this is just one example of how the United States is one of the most expensive in the country. But could you help explain a little more on your thoughts about what we do to increase competition and lower costs?
Thank you, Senator. I'm a firm believer that robust competition results in benefits for consumers, including lower costs. And I am concerned that the level of consolidation in this country is actually reducing the incentives that lead to lower costs for consumers. And since you raised affordability, I'm so glad you raised that, because one of the things that I'm very concerned about is the lack of a program to provide affordable access to connectivity for consumers throughout this country. We are spending billions of dollars in order to deploy networks in the hardest to reach areas, but we're not going to make sure that they are sustainable if people can't afford to actually purchase that service.
Well, so isn't that what's been wrong with spectrum policy writ large? Is we sell the spectrum, we give it to the telco industry. They basically expand to the areas that they can have customers, but not to the hard-to-serve areas, or figuring out a price point that will allow them to deliver a service so we can expand to the whatever it is, 20 million Americans that don't have broadband.
Yes, that's exactly right. I mean, it's an incentive, your economic incentive is where the profits are. So that's where government steps in.
Well, I don't think that's where the FCC is stepping in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.